Take a look at this screenshot. This is a child on a TikTok livestream, masked and holding a piece of paper that says in Arabic, "I want to buy a PlayStation." This child has been sitting in the livestream for hours. Not one breath was heard, nor a single muscle was moved for hours during this live. And of course, many innocent viewers were lured into this live, donating gifts so this child can buy a PlayStation. You see, this is way darker than what you guys think. For all that you know, this child could be abducted or forced by his own family to do this. This child has evidently been forced and suffocated inside of a mask to be a bait for innocent viewers. I have personally seen things like this on the dark web. I've seen live streams very similar to this one. I feel so bad and so disgusted. Unfortunately, there are no identities in this page that we can report. If you see this live, report it. This child's been sitting there for hours and probably doesn't even know what the paper says.
He's a person in the window, but they're not there.
Esto es muy loco. Miren. No se ve nada. No se ve nada. Asustado pero posta. ¿La ven? ¿Llegan a ver? Hay una mujer en la puerta del edificio. Una mujer al lado del portero eléctrico. Esto hay... ¿Lo ven? Acerquemos. Hay una mujer al lado del portero eléctrico. Son las 2:30 de la mañana. Esa imagen ni temprano apareció recién y no se mueve. Ahora, vamos a ver. No hay nada, ven ahí, no hay nada. No hay nada, pero cuando yo veo las cámaras, me aparece la mujer por las cámaras. ¿La ven? Una locura. La primera vez en la vida que me aparece esa mujer. Y no son efectos de...
Yo, what's up? Here's some scary facts about our world that you probably didn't want to know, part 43. One of the reasons refrigerators are magnetic is because back during the early 1900s, children used to get stuck inside of these when they were playing hide and go seek, and they would actually suffocate and die. There's actually a condition known as arachnodactyly, and it makes your fingers and your toes appear abnormally long in comparison to your palm and to your foot. It can appear at birth or later on during life, so don't think you're safe just yet. There's a chance that you could experience internal bleeding, but you may not even know it's going on until it's too late. Oh yeah, I didn't know if you knew this or not, but actually when you die, they drain your body of all the blood. They put a tube through your jugular, it goes down a table, and then it empties out into like a sink or a toilet. Yeah, and then it's just replaced with formaldehyde.
These are the most haunted places in Egypt. Starting at number 4, the mansion of Izzat Abu Auf. Izzat Abu Auf was a famous Egyptian actor that died in 2019. People he has hosted over parties at his home have reportedly seen a ghost walking with an old-style lamp in his hand. It is said to be the ghost of one of the previous owners of this home, but we all know what that thing is. Number 3. Barun Impain Palace. People nearby and guards around the palace have seen ghosts and have heard weird voices coming out of this abandoned place. Barun, the owner of this house, used to live here with his family. His wife died in the palace in very mysterious circumstances. A few months later, the daughter died, and a few months later, Barun died. No one was able to find out how they died, but the palace is not a safe place to stay. Number 2. Hilwan Hospital. This is North Africa's most haunted hospital. The family members of King Farouk used to live here. It became a morgue for the family members after they died. People have seen light bulbs flicker by themselves without any reason, and shadows creeping up on them along with children's voices. People have reported extremely negative vibes around this site, and this place remains as one of the world's most haunted abandoned hospitals. And finally, number 1, the Pyramids of Giza. In my True Horrifying Story series, part 48, I spoke about the era of when black magic was the strongest, most dangerous, and nothing compared to how it is today. This era was back during the pharaohs of ancient Egypt. Tutankhamun's grave, the world's most haunted grave, was inside one of these pyramids. Every pyramid used to hold treasures that is guarded by jinns. Thousands of people have died trying to retrieve these treasures up until just recently. Until this day, there are areas in these pyramids that have still not been explored due to the power of jinns that guard them. These pyramids are not just haunted. Walking in them is like walking into hell on earth. You tell me, what country should I do next?
So you still don't believe in ghosts? Well, every once in a while you're going to come across a video that challenges those beliefs. Notice the way the smoke is going. This thing is going the opposite direction into the fire. These people don't do paranormal content. It's normally about their dogs. So this makes me really believe in this video, that it's true, unedited, and amazing. I'm gonna tag them below in this video. Go back, watch their content, see for yourself. Come back, let me know what you think.
This is the story of Robert Berdella, otherwise known as the Butcher of Kansas. In the late 1980s, somewhere between 1984 and 1987, in Kansas City, Missouri, Robert Berdella killed and tortured 6 men at his home. Now, Berdella's fantasies of killing people didn't really surface until about 1967 when he enrolled at the Kansas City Art Institute in hopes of becoming a professor. But instead of fulfilling his fantasies of killing people, he actually started with killing animals and got kicked off campus for killing a dog in the name of art. But shortly after getting kicked out of college, Bob actually opened up his own store called Bob's Bizarre Bazaar, where he would actually sell an absurd amount of very strange and occult-like novelties, like human skulls and shrunken heads. And it wouldn't be too long after opening the store that Berdella's soon-to-be 7th victim, Christopher Bryson, would move on to escape Berdella's 2nd floor in his home and flag down the police so that he can bring them to the scene. It was then made clear that Berdella was operating a torture chamber inside of his own home. Investigators even moved on to find around 340 to 350 Polaroid pictures of his victims while they were being tortured, and some of his victims' dismembered body parts inside of dog food bags. Berdella was then sentenced to life in prison, but actually ended up dying in 1992 due to a heart attack.
Ed found out some ghosts are solid just like you and me. Ed Cox was driving home from work one night in a rainstorm. While waiting for a light to change, he noticed a young woman waiting by herself at a bus stop. She had no umbrella and was soaking wet. He asked, "Are you going toward Farmington? And if so, would you like a ride?" She replied with, "I am, and I would love a ride." So she got in and told him that her name is Joanna Finney. After climbing in, she said, "Thank you for rescuing me." He said, "Hi, I'm Ed Cox, and you're welcome." On the way, they talked and they talked. She told him about her family, her job, and where she lived, even where she had gone to school. And he told her about himself. By the time they reached her house, the rain had stopped. "I'm glad it rained," he said. "Would you like to go out tomorrow?" She said, "I'd love to," and asked him to meet her at the bus stop again, since it was near her office. They had a great time, and they went out many times after that. Always they would meet at the bus stop, and then off they'd go. Ed liked her more and more each time he saw her. But one night, Joanna didn't show up at the bus stop. Ed waited there for almost an hour. He thought something must be wrong, so he drove to her house in Farmington. There was a bright porch light on, so he knew someone was home and decided to knock on the door. An older woman came to the door. He said, "Hi, I'm Ed Cox. Maybe Joanna has told you about me. We had a date scheduled for tonight, and we were supposed to meet at the bus stop, but she didn't show up. Is she all right?" The woman looked at him as if he had said something strange. "I'm Joanna's mother," she said slowly. "Joanna isn't here now, but why don't you come in?" After entering the home, Ed pointed at a picture on the mantle. He said, "That looks just like her." "It did. Once," her mother replied. "But that picture was taken when she was your age, about 20 years ago." She said a few days after that was taken, she was waiting at the bus stop in the rain when she was struck by a car and killed on that very spot. Ed was heartbroken, but went back to visit that bus stop many times, just hoping he would see her again. But he never did.
This plane crash caused survivors to resort to cannibalism so they could survive. On October 13th, 1972, there was a rugby team that was on their way to Chile when their plane took an unexpected downfall that crashed them right into the middle of the Andes Mountains. After the plane had crashed, 13 out of the 45 passengers either died quickly on impact or in a short period of time after the plane had crashed. So after about 10 days of searching, authorities just eventually gave up because they could not spot where these people had crashed, and this caused the surviving passengers to do the unthinkable. After running out of food, the surviving passengers decided that they were going to survive by eating the flesh off of the other dead frozen passengers until they were found. And these weren't just any random people. These were friends, family members, and teammates of these surviving passengers. There was even one of the survivors that claimed it was hard to eat the flesh, but eventually after a while, we all got used to it. And on December 22nd, 1972, about 72 days after the crash, the survivors were found by helicopters and rescued and taken to safety the next day.
Normal looking photos that have a disturbing backstory. Part 27. This photo shows an elderly couple doing the hokey pokey with a man named Dennis Rader, also known as the BTK Killer. He installed alarms for a living, and ironically, many clients booked his services to prevent him from entering their homes. This photo shows Luchadora Juana Barraza. She was sold to a man for 3 beers by her mother until her stepdad found her at age 17. Over the years that followed, she would strangle and rob over 45 old women that reminded her of her abusive mom. The man in the background is Christopher Wilde, aka the Beauty Queen Killer. This picture was taken on June 15th, 1984, and Chris is scouting future victims at a beauty pageant. This photo shows John Edward Robinson holding a baby girl named Tiffany. Just one day before this photo was taken, he murdered the baby's mother and gave Tiffany to his brother, saying that she was adopted. His brother, along with Tiffany, didn't find out the truth for 15 years.